Hi guys, in this video we are going to be looking at the colligative properties. Now, what are the colligative properties? Before we talk about colligative properties, let us establish some things or some facts. Now, we know that solutions comprises of the solutes plus the solvent. Now, the solute plus the solvent form the solution. Now, however, there are certain properties of the solution that is formed that are different from the property of the pure solvent. Now, these properties are known as the vapor pressure, the boiling point, the freezing point, and the osmotic pressure, which are all these properties listed here. Now, these properties for the solutions either increase or decrease based on the presence or due to the presence of the solute. Now, these properties are collectively called the colligative properties. So, colligative properties, as the name implies, colligative means collected together. Which are the vapor pressure lowering, boiling point elevation. That means the vapor pressure of the solution will be what? Lowered. The boiling point will increase, which is elevation. Freezing point will be lower, and then there will be osmotic pressure. So all these properties of solutions which are different from those of the pure solvent are known as colligative properties. And of course, you know why they should be different from those of the pure solvent. Because the solution comprises of the solvent plus the solute. So whenever you impute or whenever you put in solute into a solvent, it changes the colligative properties, which are the vapor pressure, boiling point, the freezing point, and the osmotic pressure of that solvent to that of the solution. Now, as we earlier said, colligative properties, colligative means collected together. It means that all these properties are related with each other. That is, if we are able to find one of these property, we would be able to find the other property. That is why we say they are collected together. Ability to determine one means you should be able to determine the other. Now, what are colligative properties proper now? Now, we can say colligative properties are properties of solutions that depends on the number of solute particles. That depend on the number of solute particles and not the chemical identity of those particles. Okay, so all those properties that depends on the number of solute particles and not the chemical identity are known as colligative properties. Now, when you talk about the number of solute particle, it's a concentration term. When we talk about concentration, it means the more the number of solute particles, the higher the concentration. And the lower the number of solute particles, the lower the concentration of that solution. Now, that makes us to now come to discussing concentration terms. How is concentration expressed? Now, concentration can be expressed in form of mole fraction, molarity, and molality. Which are these? Mole fraction, molarity, and molality. And then we can also express it as the number of what? The number of mole. So if we have discussed all these things here, it means that we have achieved the aim of this lecture. Let me recap. Colligative properties are properties that depend on the number of solute particles and not on their chemical identity. I said that the number of solute particle is talking about the concentration. That means there are properties that depend on the concentration of solute present and not the chemical identity of those solutes. and they are called colligative property because they are collected together, that if you are able to determine one of those properties, you will be able to determine the other properties. Now let us talk about the number of moles. Now before now, we know from our studies of chemistry that the number of moles is equal to mass over molar mass. So if you are given the mass and you know how to calculate the molar mass, you should be able to calculate the number of moles. Now, having talked about the number of moles, now let us calculate the mole fraction. The mole fraction designated with X is equal to the number of moles of solute all over the number of moles of solute plus what? The number of moles of the solvent, which is number of moles of solute all over number of moles of solute plus solvent, to give us the mole fraction of the solute. Now, let us explain this in details. Now, we said that a solution comprises of a solute plus a solvent. Now, if you want to look for the number of mole or the fraction of the solute present, all you need to do is calculate the number of moles of the solute, then divide it by the number of moles of the solute plus that of the solvent. Maybe when we take an example, you understand what I'm talking about in details. Now let us take this example. Say calculate the mole fraction of HCl in a solution of hydrochloric acid in water. Now in this case, your ability to identify your solute and your solvent is of utmost importance. Now, what is your solute in this question? Your solute is equal to hydrochloric acid. And then what is your solvent? Your solvent is water, H2O. Then what is your solution? Our solution is an aqueous solution of HCl, or you can say HCl plus water solution. Now, in the question, it was given that HCl contained 36% HCl by weight, or the substance contained 36% HCl by weight. Now you have to think in order to provide solution to this question. Now, from our concentration terms, we talked about percentage concentration in pharmaceutical techniques, okay? Percentage composition or percentage expressing concentration in terms of percentage rather. Now we said that expressing concentration, which is percentage concentration, is always the mass of solute, all over 100 milliliter of solution. Now when they give you 36, the mass of solute in gram, let's take note, which is times what? 100%. So when they give you your percentage composition, they say 36%. It means that the mass of solute is what? 36. So our percentage concentration in this case, percentage concentration, the mass of solute is how many gram? 36 gram all over. Then 100, it contains 36 gram all over 100 milliliter of water. So the mass of the solute is 36 gram. Now if the mass of solute is 36 gram, we know that the total mass for percentage is supposed to be how many? 100. Is that not so? 100 gram. So if HCl has already taken 36%, total percentage is 100. That means the percentage of water present will be 100 minus 36%, and this will give us what? 74%, which is equals to 74. Well, is this 74? 64 rather. 64%, which should be equal to, now if you convert this now to gram, it will be 64 gram. Now, providing solution to this question, now we have to calculate the number of moles of individual constituents present, or individual components of this solution, which is the solute HCl and the solvent H2O. We've known the masses. Let's go to a clean sheet. Now, the mass of HCl is what? Mass of HCl, if I say match, is equal to 36 gram. The mass of water, since it's expressed in percentage, to be what? 64 gram. In such a way that when you add the two, they will give us 100 gram. Now, we said that the mole fraction of the solute, is equal to number of moles of solute all over number of moles of solute plus number of moles of solvent. Now let us calculate the number of moles of solute. The number of moles is mass all over molar mass. So our N is equal to, what is the mass of HCl? Because HCl is the solute here. The mass of HCl is equal to 36 gram. What is the molar mass of HCl? Now, let me do the molar mass, or calculate the molar mass of the two of them here. HCl is a combination of hydrogen and chlorine, which is hydrogen 1 plus chlorine 35.5. 1 plus 35.5 is 36.5 gram. And then when you come here, you say this is 36.5 gram per mole. This is per mole, 2 per mole. This is 36 gram. Now when you divide this, what are you going to have? After calculating this, we have the number of moles of solute to be equal to 0.986 mole. Now let us calculate the number of moles of solvent. Number of moles of solvent is equal to the mass of the solvent all over the molar mass. Now the solvent in this case is H2O. Molar mass of what? H2O. So we have mass of H2O all over molar mass, and we said that the mass of H2O is 64 gram. The molar mass of H2O is 18 gram per mole. Why? Because H2O is a combination of two hydrogen plus one oxygen atom, which become 1 times 2 is 2 plus 16, and this will give us 18 gram per mole. So our N in this case, 64 divided by 18, what will it give to you? This will give us 3.55 mole. Now what will now be the mole fraction? The mole fraction of the solute, we said, is the number of moles of solute all over the number of moles of solute plus that of solvent. Number of moles of solute is 0.98 mole divided by number of moles of this is in mole, number of moles of solute again 0.986 mole plus that of the solvent is 3.55 mole. And then when you solve, what is this called? The mole fraction of the solute is equal to, add what you have on that together. This is 0.986, 4.54. So this gives us 0.986 mole divided by 4.541. So the number of the mole fraction of the solute is equal to 0.986 divided by 4.541, and this will give us 0.22. Now it has no unit because when you add mole plus mole here, this will give us mole. Mole cancel mole, so the mole fraction has no unit. So the mole fraction of the solute is 0.22 moles. That's the mole fraction of the solute. Now let us calculate the mole fraction of the solvent in this case. The mole fraction of the solvent, which is H2O. Now how do we calculate the mole fraction of the solvent? It's still the same thing. Now mole fraction of the solvent would be equal to the number of moles of solvent all over number of moles of solute plus that of solvent. Now what is the difference? In place of solute here, we introduced what? Solvent. So the number of moles of the solvent is equal to 3.55, which is number of moles of solvent, or this is a mole fraction of solvent rather, equals to number of moles of solvent divided by the number of moles of the solute 986 plus the number of moles of the solvent again, which is 3.55, everything in mole. So moles of solvent would be equal to 3.55 mole divided by 4.541 mole. Mole cancel mole, so that your final answer would be unitless. Solvent would be equal to, now 3.55 divided by 4.541, which is equals to 0.78. So the mole fraction of the solvent is equals to 0.78. Now let us look at something very well. You discover that the mole fraction of the solute is equal to 0.22, and the mole fraction of the solvent is equal to 0.78. Now one thing should be sure, that the sum of all mole fraction should give 1. So if you add these two together and then you did get 1, it means that your answer is wrong. If you add all the mole fraction of all the components together, it must be equal to what? 1. So if you add these two together, will it give us 1? Yeah, this will give us 1. So it means that these answers are what? Very, very correct. Now another way to do this is, or let's not talk about the other way because it may be very, very confusing. It will not help you determine if you are correct or not. If you've been able to calculate 1, just subtract 1 from it and it will give you the other one. But what about if you are wrong here? So that approach is not that okay. So that is how to calculate the mole fraction. Now let us talk about molality, because these are the two concentration terms that will be of utmost importance understanding this course of discourse, and that is the number of moles and the molality. Now the question says, what is the molality of a solution prepared by dissolving 5 grams of toluene in 225 grams of benzene? Now gone are those days where we think that when you have a solution which comprises of a solute plus a solvent, there is this mindset that we had then, that the solute must be solid and then the solvent must be liquid. Now in a solution where you are given solid, which of them becomes our solute and which of them becomes our solvent? Because you are given solid. In this case, they gave you the mass as 5.0 gram of toluene and 225 gram of what? Benzene, or gas, whichever way. Now which of them will be the solute and which of them will be the solvent? Now 5.0 gram will be the what? Solute, because that one is smaller. So whenever you are giving two same thing, the one that is smallest is usually the solute, while the one that is that has much of the masses is always the solvent. So in this case, toluene will become the solute, while the solvent would be benzene. Now, let us try and solve this particular question. What is molality? What is molality? Now, molality is equal to the number of moles of solutes all over the mass of solvent in kilogram. Molality is the number of moles of solute all over the mass of solvent in kilogram. Now, in this case, which of them is our solute? We said our solute is toluene, right? So it becomes solute. The mass number of moles of solute will now be, or let's bring it out. Solute is equal to toluene, right? This is not the spelling. It's toluene. So our molality, now let's calculate for the number of moles, because we need the number of moles first. Number of moles of toluene is equal to mass all over what? Molar mass, right? So number of moles of solute is equal to mass all over molar mass. Now, what is the mass of toluene given? Number of moles, or first of all, let's calculate. The mass is 5.0 gram. The molar mass is equals to, sum all of them here together. Toluene is C7H8. Carbon is what? 12 times 7 plus hydrogen is 1 times 8. 12 times 7 is, I think, 84, right? 84. So this gives us 84 gram. 1 times 8 is 8. 84 plus 8. 84 plus 8 is 92 gram per mole. So the molar mass of toluene is 92 gram per mole. The number of moles of toluene would be equal to, the mass is 5.0 gram. Molar mass is 92.0 gram per mole. When this cancels out, what do you think we are going to have? 5.0 divided by 92.0. 5 divided by 92, 0.05. So we have 0.054 mole. Let me write it here. Number of moles is equals to 0.054 moles for toluene. Now let us calculate the molality. What do you say for molality? We say molality is equals to number of moles of solute all over the mass of solvent in kilogram. Now the number of moles of solute, we calculated it to be what? 0.0543 mole, and the mass of solvent is given as 225 gram, which is that of benzene, right? 225 gram. Now note that in the formula for molality, your mass of solvent must be in kg, so we convert 225 gram to kg by dividing by 1000. When you divide this and this, it will give us 0.225 kilogram. So we'll now come back here and say molality, number of moles of solute is 0.0543 divided by 0.225 kg. This is mole. When you then divide this with your calculator, 0.225, this will give us 0.241 mole per kilogram, or you can say 0.241 with small letter m, which means molar. So that is how to calculate for the molality of any substance given to you. So basically we've talked about the colligative properties. Now the next thing we are going to talk about are, we've talked about the concentration terms, which are number of moles, the mole fraction, molality, and then there's another one called molarity. Molarity means the number of moles of solutes all over the volume of solution in dm cube. Number of moles of solutes all over volume of solution in dm cube. Now let us talk about these colligative properties now. But there is something that will help us to understand colligative properties. Let us assume you have this as a pure solvent, and then you have this as a mixture of a pure solvent and a solute. Let's assume these are the particles of the pure solvent, and then here are the particles of the solution. This solution, now remember that solution comprises of both a solvent plus a solute, so we can say solute plus solvent. I'm going to explain something that we need to understand before we proceed. Now we said solution comprises of solute plus what? Solvent. Now that is to say that there are other species here that are different from the solvent, which are the solute. So I'm going to shade this. Okay, let me use a different pen or a different color to indicate all this. Love you. Now you discover something, that when there is vapor pressure is the pressure that is exerted on the atmosphere by a solution or by a solvent or by any liquid at all. So you discover that the vapor pressure of the solvent will be much. Let's assume these are the particles that are evaporating. Are we getting the exerting pressure on the atmosphere? Why those? Let me draw this again. Okay. Now these are the pressure escape. These are the particles escaping into the atmosphere, actually doing what? Exerting pressure on the atmosphere. Now when you come here, you discover that the solvent particles outside would be what? Small. Why? Because the solute particles, solvent particles, the ones evaporating, will be what? Small. Do you know why? Because some of these solutes are actually blocking the molecules or the particles of these solvent from escaping. Are you getting it now? So this one will have a higher vapor pressure. That means this one will exert a higher vapor pressure on the atmosphere because nothing is blocking them. Are you getting it now? So this will have higher vapor pressure. High vapor pressure. But when you come here, you discover something, that the vapor pressure here will be what? Low. This will have high, this will have low vapor pressure. Why? Because of the encounter the solvent particles have with the solute particles. Some of the solute particles are blocking the solvent particle from escaping into the environment, thereby what? Thereby exerting pressure on the atmosphere. Is that understood? So that is why we say that a pure solvent have a higher vapor pressure than what? Than a solution. That means when you introduce a solute into that solvent. Now this to say that pure water we have a higher vapor pressure when compared to a mixture or a solution of pure water plus salt, which is equals to salt solution. Is that understood? Now that brings us to a law called the Rath's law, and that Rath's law is what will help us to actually explain most of this colligative property. Now Rath's law states that Rath's law states that the vapor pressure lowering caused by the introduction of solute particles, because what happened when you introduce solute particles here, the vapor pressure dropped drastically. That means it is lowered. The vapor pressure lowering, according to him, the relative vapor pressure lowering, which is PS, or let's say P pure solvent minus PS, that of the solution, all over P, that of the pure solvent, is directly proportional to the number of solute particles, or to the concentration of solute particles that is present, or to the mole fraction of solute particle. That's what Rath's law is talking about. That the vapor pressure lowering, or the relative vapor pressure lowering, is directly proportional to the concentration of solute present, or to the mole ratio, or the mole fraction of the solute that is present in the solution. Now, having derived Rath's law, this will help us to actually solve problems that has to do with vapor pressure lowering. Now, the something says P minus PS all over P is equal to N all over N plus N, where P is the pressure of pure solvent, then PS is pressure of solution, which is of course lower than that of the solvent. Then N, this N all over N plus 1, we said is the mole fraction. Is that understood? Now P minus PS is called the vapor pressure lowering. Please note this. It's called the vapor pressure lowering. Why P minus PS all over P is called the relative vapor pressure lowering. Relative vapor pressure lowering, and this is called the vapor pressure lowering. Now, the idea of Rath's law is what will actually help us to determine the vapor pressure, molecular mass, when you are talking about vapor pressure lowering, and the rest of the calculations. Rath's law states that the relative vapor pressure lowering is directly proportional to the concentration of solute particles present. Now, if we want to actually think of this experimentally, we can say that the more the solute particles present in the solution, the lower the vapor pressure. The more the solute particles present, the lower the vapor pressure. So it means that if we put the what is it called? If you, let's say this one has 5 mole, and then you have another solution that contains both solute and solvent, and then this one has, let's say, 10 moles. Which of them do you think will cause more lowering? According to Roth law, the higher the concentration, the what? Lower the vapor pressure. That means this one that has 10 mole, we have a lower vapor pressure, because most of the solute particles now will now be blocking the solvent particles. Hence, the solute or the solvent cannot escape to exert pressure on the atmosphere. Is that understood? So that is the concept of what? Vapor pressure lowering. The more the solute particles present in the solution, the lower the what? Vapor pressure. Or we can say the higher the vapor pressure lowering. Because the higher the vapor pressure lowering, the what? The lower the vapor pressure. When you say the higher vapor pressure lowering, it means you are subtracting more from the initial vapor pressure. And that is why we stated the formula by saying that the vapor pressure lowering, not the vapor pressure. We should take that into cognizance. Not the vapor pressure, but the vapor pressure lowering is directly proportional to the concentration of the solute that is present therein. So the higher the concentration, the higher the vapor pressure lowering. And of course, the higher the vapor pressure lowering, the lower the vapor pressure. These are concepts that we should get correctly. There's a difference between vapor pressure lowering, and relative vapor pressure. The relative vapor pressure is the vapor pressure lowering with relation to the initial vapor pressure. That is the reason why we said what you have here is P minus PS. This is the vapor pressure lowering with relation to the vapor pressure of the pure solvent. Is that understood? So that is the idea of Roth's law. Now let's use Roth's law to provide solution to these questions. Now we have a question here that says calculate the vapor pressure lowering. Now when they say vapor pressure lowering, we can say that this vapor pressure lowering also is change in P. Let me rewrite this. It can be written as P minus PS all over P. Here we can say P minus PS is equals to what? Change in P. So wherever you see P minus PS, what do you put there? Change in P all over what? P. Now come here. Say calculate the vapor pressure lowering caused by the addition of 1.712 gram of sucrose to 1000 gram of water if the vapor pressure of pure water at this is equals to this. Now, the formula is P minus PS all over P is equal to N all over N plus N. Here P is the vapor pressure of the pure solvent. Now, the pure solvent is pure water, which is 23.8 millimeter mercury. Now, you are asked to calculate the vapor pressure lowering. That means you are asked to calculate P minus PS, which we can represent as what? Change in P. Now, you were given the mass of sucrose, but you need to calculate the number of moles of sucrose. Now, number of moles of sucrose, of course, we know is mass all over molar mass. Now, the mass is 171.2 gram divided by the molar mass of sucrose is 342 gram per mole. So we can say the number of moles of sucrose is equal to 171.2 divided by 342. What will it give to you? This will give us 0.5005 mole. Now, the next thing is the number of moles of the solvent. The solvent is water. So we can say number of moles of water is mass of water all over molar mass. The mass of water given is what? 1000 gram. Molar mass of water, of course, we know is 18 gram per mole. This is in gram. When gram cancels gram, you have 1000 divided by 18, which gives us 55.5 mole. 55.55 mole. Let's abbreviate to 55.5 moles. So the number of moles of H2O is 55.5 moles. Now, writing out our parameters again, we said P minus PS all over P is equal to N all over N plus N. Now, P minus PS, I said, is the vapor pressure lowering, which we can represent with change in P. Now, what is P? Is the vapor pressure of the pure solvent, which is 23.8 millimeter, because the pure solvent before sucrose was introduced is water. Hence, you use the vapor pressure of what pure water to solve, and this will give us vapor pressure of pure water is 23.8 millimeter mercury. Vapor pressure of pure water is 23.8 millimeter mercury. Now, the number of moles of pure water, or number of moles of the solute is sucrose. So we are going to use the number of moles of what? Sucrose here, which is 0.5005, approximately 0.5. So we can say this is 0.50 mole. Now, number of moles of the solvent. The solvent is water, which is 55.5 mole. So we have our capital letter M as 55.5 mole. Now, substituting into this formula, this will be called, we said P minus PS can be represented as change in P, and that's what we are actually looking for. So we have change in P divided by P is equal to N all over N plus N. Substituting in, you have change in P all over. P is what? 23.8 millimeter mercury, right? Millimeter of mercury, equal to the number of moles of the solute, which is small letter m, 0.5 mole, and that of this is 0.5 mole again, plus pure solvent is 55.5 mole. Now, when you add everything here together, it's going to give us 23.8 millimeter mercury is equal to 0.5 mole divided by, now 55.55 plus 0.5, that will give us 56.0 mole. Mole cancel mole. Now we can do something by using this to multiply this. So this gives us 56 change in P, if we cross multiply, is equal to 0.5 times 23.8. Now, to get your answer, divide both sides by 56. When this cancels this, our change in P is equal to 0.5 times 23.8. That will give us 11.9 divided by 56. Now, 11.9 divided by 56, what will it give to you? 11.9 divided by 56. This will give us 0.2125. 0.2125. So it means that our change in P is equals to 0.2125 moles, not moles, millimeter mercury. And that is the vapor pressure lowering for that particular solution. And that is the answer to that question. Now, how about in this question, if you are asked to calculate the relative vapor pressure lowering? Now, we said that the relative vapor pressure lowering is change in P all over P, which is equals to P minus PS all over P. Are we getting it now? Which is equal to, what is P minus PS? The change in P, which is 0.2125, divided by P is what? 23.8 millimeter mercury. This millimeter mercury. So we can say that the relative vapor pressure lowering does not have a unit. So this gives us 0.2125 divided by 23.8, which will give us 0.0893, and this is the relative vapor pressure lowering. So if you are asked to calculate for the relative vapor pressure lowering, that is what you do. But if you are not asked, you just calculate for only the vapor pressure lowering. Now let us solve the next question. Next question says, calculate the vapor pressure caused by the addition of 0.5 mole of sucrose. So it means that the number of moles of the solute is given 0.5 mole of sucrose, molar mass 342 to 1000 gram of water. If the vapor pressure of pure water, now you are given the vapor pressure of pure water at 20 degrees Celsius to be 17.5 millimeter of mercury, what will be the vapor pressure lowering? Now, you are given the mass of water. Mass of water, which is mass of the solvent, was given as 1000 gram. But you can calculate the molar mass of the number of moles, because what you are looking for is the number of moles of the solvent. So the number of moles of the solvent now is mass all over molar mass, which 1000 for water divided by 18 rather. This is what you should know by now. Number of moles is mass all over molar mass. So when this cancels this, it gives us 55.5 mole. So whenever they give us water to be 1000 gram, know that the number of moles is what? 55.5 molar. Now, the question says, calculate the vapor pressure caused by, and then later, what will be the vapor pressure lowering? Now, before we'll be able to calculate the vapor pressure, we should be able to calculate the vapor pressure lowering. Or is there any need? We can, let's make it easier by first of all calculating the vapor pressure lowering, and then we'll calculate the vapor pressure lowering. From there, we'll be able to calculate the vapor pressure. Now, what do you think will be the vapor pressure lowering? We said P, which I can write again as change in P, which is P minus PS, is what? Divided by P is equal to N all over N plus N. Anyone I bring comes first. Change in P is what we are looking for. Let's calculate for the vapor pressure lowering. If you can calculate for the vapor pressure lowering, it means that we'll be able to calculate for the vapor pressure. Now, why is the vapor pressure lowering? Now be change in P all over the vapor pressure of the pure solvent, 17.5 millimeter of mercury, is equal to the number of moles is what? Of the solute 0.5, it was given mole. Number of moles of solvent is solute also is 0.5 mole, plus that of solvent is 55.5 mole. We've already calculated this before. This will give us 0.5 mole divided by 56.0 mole. Mole cancels mole, and then when you divide this, 0.5 divided by 56, so this will give us 0.089. Let me write it here. What did I just calculate here? Ooh! Okay. That means the summary of everything here. Not to make it confusing, let me just go the normal way. Okay, we say this is change P all over this times, use this to multiply this, use this to multiply this. So when you add everything here together, I guess this gave us 17.5 millimeter of mercury is equal to 0.5 divided by 56.0. Cross multiply. When this multiply this, it gives us 56.0 is equals to 0.5 times 17.5. Divide both sides by 56. Of course, we know this is change in P. When this cancel this, 0.5 times 17.5. 8.75. Oh, let me look for something around here to squeeze it. Now 8.75 divided by 56, 0.1562. So our change in P 0.1562 millimeter of mercury. So that is our change in P. Now let's come to a fresh sheet. Our change in P, which is the vapor pressure lowering now, is 0.15625 millimeter of mercury. But we know that change in P is what? Pa minus Ps, where P is the vapor pressure of the pure solvent and then Ps is the vapor pressure of the solution. So we are looking for Ps. Take Ps to this side. What will it become? This becomes Px is equals to P minus change in P, and then Ps is equal to P is what? 17.5 minus 0.15625, everything in millimeter of mercury, and then your Ps is equal to, what will it become? 17.5 minus 0.15625. 17.5 minus 0.15625, which will give us 17.34 millimeter mercury. So you see that the vapor pressure of the solution is lower than the vapor pressure of the pure solvent. This is that of the pure solvent, and this is that of the solution. But the lowering is very small because they are very dilute solution. Okay, so that is for vapor pressure lowering. Is that understood? Now we've been able to calculate the vapor pressure lowering and the vapor pressure. Now there are some questions that will be given to you. I'll be asked to calculate the molecular mass, and this time not vapor pressure lowering or vapor pressure. Now there's a formula for calculating this. Let's try and derive the formula. Now, and it depends on the concentration of the solute. That is what you actually determine the formula that you are going to use to solve this. But in most of the cases I'm going to illustrate here, let's assume that for this first case, let's assume that the solution is very dilute. Now the question says, if the vapor pressure of ether 20 degrees Celsius is 442 millimeter mercury, what is the vapor pressure of a solution of 6 gram of a non-volatile solute X in 148 gram of the ether at the same temperature, given that the molar mass of X is equals to 60? Now, if you are given that the concentration of the solute is dilute, or the solute is very, very dilute, you are going to use a particular formula. If you are given that the solute is not dilute, you are going to, for this one they didn't state, so you are going to use the main formula. Now how do we derive the formula? Before now we know that P, let me derive the formula on a clean sheet. We know that P minus Ps all over P is equal to N all over N plus N. Is that not so? Now, our N is, let's say, the mass of solute all over the molar mass, where W is mass of solute rather, and then M molar mass of solute, and then our N be equal to capital letter W all over capital letter M, where capital letter W mass of solvent all over the molar mass of solvent. I believe this is what we'll be using to calculate for number of mole. Now, if we substitute each of these 9 into this equation, what do you think we are going to have? we're going to have P minus PS divided by P is equal to W all over M divided by, we have W all over M. What we are doing, in place of N, put in the value of W all over M. So we have, first of all, W all over M divided by W all over M plus, then this one is now going to give us what? Capital letter W all over capital letter M. Now there are some cases where you'll be given that the concentration of the solute is so small. Now if the concentration of the solute is so small, it means that it contributes negligible amount to the solution. Are you getting it now? To the number of moles of the solution. So in most cases, when they say the concentration of the solute is very small for very dilute solutions, what you are going to do is remove this concentration, or the mole, the number of moles of the solute under. So here it becomes 0 for very dilute solution. So this becomes P minus PS all over P is W all over M divided by, when here becomes 0, what are you left with here? M all over, W all over M. So in that case, become P minus PS all over P is equals to W all over M divided by W all over M. And then this gives us P minus PS all over P is equals to W all over M times M all over W. Because when you introduce multiplication sign here, this M comes up, W comes down. So at the end of the day, what you have? P minus PS all over P will become W times M is what? WM all over M W. So when they say the solution is very dilute, you use this formula. However, when they say the solution is not very dilute, if it's not given, you use this bigger formula. If it's not stated, you use this bigger formula for vapor pressure lowering to calculate the molecular mass. Is that understood? So now let us work on an example. The question says 4.42 gram of urea. First of all, let's state our formula. Formula says P minus PS all over P is equal to W all over M divided by W all over M plus what? Big W all over M. Where each of these things, you know what they mean. P is the pressure of the pure solvent. PS is the pressure of the solution. And then W over M is the number of moles of the solute. And then W, big W over M is the number of moles of solvent. Now let us bring out each of our parameters. Now say 4.42 gram of urea in 30 gram of H2O. So which of them is the solute and which of them is the solvent? Now in this case, urea is the solute and H2O is the solvent. So the mass of urea, I say the small w is the mass of solute. The mass of urea is 4.42 gram. Now the molar mass of urea, calculate the molecular mass. Okay, the molecular mass of urea is what we are looking for. Now the mass of water is 30 gram given. Now the molar mass of water, of course everyone knows, is 18.0 gram. Am I solving the elevation of boiling point? Okay, the question says if the vapor pressure of ether at 20 degrees Celsius is 442 millimeter mercury of ether, sorry for that. If the vapor pressure of ether at 20 degrees Celsius is 442, the formula, I wish I could just change this question for this one. Going through writing this whole something again is so stressful. Okay, let's go. Now we said the formula is P minus PS divided by P is equal to W all over M divided by small letter w again all over M plus big W all over big M. Now If the vapor pressure of ether at 20 degrees Celsius is 442 millimeter mercury, now the pure ether, vapor pressure of pure ether, P, is given as 442 millimeter mercury. What is the vapor pressure of a solution? It means you are asked to find PS. PS is unknown. Of a non-volatile solution in 148 gram of ether. In 148 gram of ether. It means that the mass of the pure solvent, or the mass of the pure solvent, which is ether, is 148 gram at the same temperature, given that the molar mass of X is 60. Now, whenever you are given a question like this, I believe it was just an omission. The mass of ether, the molar mass of ether, is supposed to be given. Molar mass of ether is given as 74.0 gram. Okay, so you have molar mass of ether. Molar mass of ether is given by capital letter M, right? 74.0 gram. And then we are given the molecular mass of the compound, which is small letter m, as 60.0 gram. Now, how do you calculate for the vapor pressure now? I would actually say we should first of all just calculate for the vapor pressure lowering. Then from the vapor pressure lowering, we'll be able to calculate for the vapor pressure. Now, why vapor pressure lowering? Change the P. Then we have all over P. In place of P minus PS, you can put change the P all over P is equal to W all over M divided by W all over M plus what? Big W all over M. Now, this gives us change in P is what we are looking for. All over. What is our P? The molar mass, the vapor pressure of pure ether is 442. So we have 442 millimeter mercury is equals to W all over M. In this case, where is our W? W all over M. Our W is the mass of the pure, the mass of the solute. Now, the mass of the solute, I did write it out before. The mass of the solute was given as 6 gram, because they say, what is the vapor pressure when of a solution of 6 gram of a non-volatile solute? So 6 gram was dissolved. So we have 6 gram divided by the molar mass of solute is given as 60, divided by mass of solute again, 6, divided by 60 plus the mass of the solvent. Was it given? The mass of the solvent is 148 gram divided by the molar mass of the solvent is what? Molar mass of solvent 74, which is what I gave to you. So at the end of the day, what are you going to have? You are changing P all over 442 is equal to 6 divided by 60. What will it give to you? 6 divided by 60 is 0.1. So we have 0.1 all over 0.1 plus, now 148 divided by 74, I think is 2. So this gives us 2. Now, coming to a fresh page, what do you think we are going to have? Coming to a fresh page. Let me not use this. Coming to a fresh page, what do you think we are going to have? You have change P all over 442 millimeter mercury is equal to 0.1 all over 0.1 plus 2.0. I believe that's what we have here. Not this. That's what we have here. Change in P all over 442 is equal to 0.1 over 0.1 plus 2. Now I transferred it here so that we can continue from here. Now this becomes change in P all over 442 millimeter mercury is equal to 0.1 divided by 0.1 plus 2.0 is 2.1. Cross multiply. This becomes 2.1 change in P is 0.1 times 442. And then divide both sides by 2.1. So our change in P, this change is very large. Or am I mistaking something? Okay, it's correct. Change in P now will be equals to 0.1 times 442. 0.1 times 442, I think it's 44.2 divided by 2.1, and then our change in P, 44.2 divided by 2.1. 44.2 divided by 2.1, that will give us 21.04 millimeter of mercury. So it means that our change in P for this question is 21.04 millimeter of mercury. Now, if our change in P is equal to 21.04 millimeter of mercury, but we know that change in P is P minus PS. So if you are asked to find the pressure of the solution, because that is what the question says, find the pressure of the solution. What is the pressure of the solution? The pressure of the solution now, if PS comes this way, PS would be equals to P, then this one comes this way, P minus change in P, and then PS will be equals to, where is the pressure of the pure ether? 442 minus change in P is 21.04, everything in millimeter of mercury. And then at the end of the day, PS would be equals to 442 divided minus 442 minus 21.04. This will give us 420.96 millimeter mercury. Now, approximation to the lowest, to a whole number, to the nearest whole number, become 421 millimeter of mercury. And that is the solution to that question, 421 millimeter of mercury. Now, there was a particular question that we are supposed to solve, which is question 1. I don't know why it's not there. Let me try and solve it. Maybe I will just read the question out and then solve it. Question 1 is not there. Question 1 is not there. Let me read the question out. Now, question 1 says the vapor pressure of ether, diethyl ether, is 442. So the pressure was given as 442 millimeter mercury at 20 degrees Celsius. Is 442 at 20 degrees Celsius. Now, at 20 degrees Celsius, 3 grams of a compound A is dissolved in 50 grams. Now, it means that the mass of solute is 3 grams. Is dissolved in 50 grams of ether. Mass of solvent 50 grams. Of this temperature, the vapor pressure falls to, now when it was dissolved, the vapor pressure, that means vapor pressure of solution is fell to 426 millimeter of mercury. Now the question says calculate the molar mass of the solution A. What you are asked to calculate is to calculate for small letter m, which is A. Small letter m. That's what you are asked to calculate. Now in this question, the mass of ether, which is diethyl ether, molar mass of ether, which is capital letter M, is 74.0 gram per mole. Now, to solve this question, let us assume that, let's not assume, let's solve. Now, this gives us P minus PS divided by P is equals to W all over M divided by W all over M plus what? W all over M. Now, P is 442 minus PS is 426. Then this divided by P is 442 equals to, small letter W is 3 grams. Small letter m is unknown. That's what you are looking for. Then this divided by small letter w is 3 gram. Small letter m is unknown. Plus big letter w is the mass of solvent 50 gram. And big letter m is 74.0 gram. Now to make this easier, 442 minus 426. 442 minus 426 divided by, let's do it straightforward. 442 minus 426. I'm very hungry this morning. Divided by this. This will give us 0.03362. Okay? 0.062362. 0.0362. Now this will be equal to 3 divided by m divided by 3 divided by m plus 50 all over 74.0. Oh, this is a very, very one kind of question. What do you think we can do? What do you think we can do? For this case, from the textbook, and to get an idea of what we are actually looking for, let's assume that eta. Let's assume, but that assumption is what I'm trying not to do. If you assume that the concentration of eta, because 3 gram is very small compared to what 50 gram. Are you getting it now? So if you assume that the concentration is very small, it means that this one will not contribute, right? And then this will become W all over M. W all over M divided by big W all over M. I said something before that if we consider it as very dilute, it means that this one will not surface here. So in that case, 442 minus 426 divided by 442, this will give us 0.036 is equals to W all over M times M all over W, because division, this one comes out, this one comes out. 0.036 would be equals to, where's your W? Small letter W, 3 divided by M times big letter M is what? 74. Big letter W is 50. 74 divided by 50, 1.48. So this gives us 0.036 is 3 divided by M times 1.48. Now cross multiply. When this multiply this, it gives us 0.036 M is 3 times 1.48. Now divide both sides by 0.036. Divide here by 0.036. M will be equals to 3 times 1.48 divided by 0.036. And this will give us 123.3. And this is the answer. That is, if we consider this as very dilute. Now, how about if we consider this as not dilute? Because there are two cases that may be given to you. Say, considering that it's very dilute, that means you don't need to use that one. Now, how about if it is given to you that it is very, very, it is not dilute? How do you solve for this particular one? Now, if it is given to you that it's not dilute, this will now become now we are talking about a situation where you are not given whether it's dilute or not dilute. Now in that situation, what are you going to do? What are you going to do in that situation? It's still the same question. So let's write out our parameters again. Parameters are, you have the pressure of the pure solvent as 442 millimeter of mercury. pressure of solution as 426 millimeter of mercury, and then the weight of solute as 3 gram, weight of solvent as 50 gram, and then the mass as 50 gram. Okay, molecular mass rather 74 gram. Then what other thing again? I believe those are all the parameters. So our formula says P minus PS all over P is equal to W all over M divided by W all over M plus W all over this small letter m plus big W all over big M. All these ones they are for solvent, while the small ones are for what? Solute. So in that case, now substituting in value, you have 442 minus 426 divided by 442 is equal to W is what? 3 gram divided by M is what you are looking for, divided by W is what? 3 gram all over M is what you are looking for. Let's remove the gram, plus our W, big W is 50, M is 74. So when you subtract this by this and divide by this, it's going to give us 0.036 is equal to, we have 3 divided by M, then we have divided by, now because this division sign here, you now write 3 all over M plus 50 all over 74. Now let's make it like this. Let's say this becomes 0.036. Do normal algebra. 3 divided by M divided by, now what is the LCM of 74 and M? 74M divided by 74M divided by 74. I mean 74M divided by M. M cancels M, so we have 74 times 3. 74 times 3, I think that will give us 222, right? Plus, then we have 74M times 74 divided by 74 will give us 1. And 1 times M will give us M. M times 50 will give us 50M. So at the end of the day, this gives us 0.036 is equals to 3 all over M times 74M. If 74 comes up, this one goes down by changing the division sign, and this gives us 222 plus 50M. Now M cancels M, is that not so? If M cancels M, what do you think we are now going to have? We are going to have 0.036 is equal to 3 divided by 1 times, then you have 74 divided by 222 plus 50, right? 74 times 3 is what? 74 times 3. I think that one will also give us 222, right? Let me check. It also gave us 222, right? So this one gives us 0.036 is equals to 222 divided by 222 plus 50M. This is M here. Okay, now this over 1 cross multiply, let this multiply this. This gives us 0.036 bracket 222 plus 50M divided is equals to 222. Is that not so? L is equals to 222. When this one opens through the bracket, 222 times 0.036, that will give us 7.992 plus 0.036 times 50, 1.8 is equals to 222. Okay, this is M. Now 1.8 M 222 minus 7.992. Okay, now this gives us 1.8 M is equals to 222 minus 7.992 214. So 1.8 divided by 214. 214 divided by 1.8. So it'll give us 118.8, which is 119. So in some situation, you may be given the molar, you may be given the concentration, and then the concentration, they say is very dilute. You use the first formula. If they say the concentration, if it's not stated, you use this formula. Now, you discover with the idea of colligative properties we have before now, that the more the solute particles, what happen? The lower the vapor pressure. Are you getting it? The lower the vapor pressure, or the lower what? The vapor pressure.